There you go. All right. I ran over. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiranachari Yamuna Tiranachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotirtha Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotirtha Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. So we're going to be on page 537. You can sit on there or sit a chair on a bench. Bench is the most comfortable, actually. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 9th day of October 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 13 entitled Nature, the Enjoyer in Consciousness, texts 8 to 12, beginning on page 537. Now, just to clear up, we read the first verse yesterday and read the part of the long purport that pertained to it. Okay, so we're going to read the second verse, 9th verse, and then but just to keep us, and then we'll read the synonym to that, and I'll read the whole translation, however, and we'll do that until we complete this section. Okay. Did I do Om Namo? I did Om Namo. Okay. So just to start with the words, the bottom of page 537. Indriyateshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. Indriyateshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. Indriyateshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. Indriyateshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. Go ahead. Indriyateshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. Indriyateshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. Anyone online?
Indriyarteshu vairagyam.
Indriyateshu vairagyam.
Anahankara evacha.
Anahankara evacha.
Janma mrityu jara vyadi.
Janma mrityu jara vyadi.
Dukkha dushanu darshanam.
Dukkha doshanu darshanam. Okay, so I'm going to read the word by words to the second verse, and then I'll read the whole translation, and we'll pick up on the purport. So, let's see. Indriyateshu, okay. Indriyateshu, in the matter of the senses, vairagyam, renunciation. Anahankaraha, being without false egoism. Eva, certainly, cha, also. Janma, of birth. Mrityu, death. Jara, old age. Vyadi, and disease. Dukkha, of the distress. Dosha, the fault. Anudarshanam, observing. And we're going to pick up, what was the page? Bottom of 40? Okay.
Last paragraph, fifth line.
All right, we did steadiness, right?
Yes.
All right. So down on page 40, the last paragraph?
Yeah, the last fifth line.
The last one?
Last fifth line.
Fifth line up?
The senses are strong.
Okay. The senses are so strong that they are always anxious to have sense gratification. One should not cater to these demands, which are not necessary. The senses should only be gratified to keep the body fit so that one can discharge his duty in advancing in spiritual life. The most important and uncontrollable sense is the tongue. If one can control the tongue, then there is every possibility of controlling the other senses. The function of the tongue is to taste and to vibrate. Therefore, by systematic regulation, the tongue should always be engaged in tasting the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna. As far as the eyes are concerned, they should not be allowed to see anything but the beautiful form of Krishna. That will control the eyes. Similarly, the ears should be engaged in hearing about Krishna, and the nose in smelling the flowers offered to Krishna. This is the process of devotional service, and it is understood here that Bhagavad Gita is simply expounding the science of devotional service. Devotional service is the main and sole objective. Unintelligent commentators on the Bhagavad Gita try to divert the mind of the reader to other subjects, but there's no other subject in the Bhagavad Gita than devotional service. Okay, we didn't do birth, old age, disease, and death. I guess that goes, yeah, okay. Okay. False ego means accepting this body as oneself. When one understands that he is not his body and his spirit soul, he comes to his real ego. Ego is there. False ego is condemned, but not real ego. In the Vedic literature, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 1.4.10, it is said, Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. I am spirit. This I am, the sense of self, also exists in the liberated stage of self-realization. This sense of I am is ego, but when the sense of I am is applied to this false body, it is false ego. When the sense of self is applied to reality, that is real ego. There are some philosophers who say we should give up our ego, but we cannot give up our ego, because ego means identity. We ought to, of course, to give up the false identification with the body. One should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease. There are descriptions in various Vedic literatures of birth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the world of the unborn, the child's stay in the womb of the mother, its suffering, etc., are all very graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful. Because we forget how much distress we have suffered within the womb of the mother, we do not make any solution to the repetition of birth and death. Similarly, at the time of death, there are all kinds of sufferings, and they are also mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. These should be discussed. And as far as disease and old age are concerned, everyone gets practical experience. No one wants to be diseased, no one wants to become old, but there is no avoiding these. Unless we have a pessimistic view of this material life, considering the distresses of birth, death, old age, and disease, there is no impetus for our making advancement in spiritual life. Okay. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnanandana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So, this is a list of about 20 elements that Krishna is describing. And at the end he says, these are all elements of knowledge. Hare Krishna, welcome. Knowledge. Now, that may be a little bit puzzling at first, because there's a lot more in here than elements of knowledge. For instance, the first one is amanitvam, which means pridelessness, humility. And then the next one, as I explained, is adambitvam, which means freedom from hypocrisy or false pride. And one may ask, well, how does this have anything to do with knowledge? And the answer is that the key means by which we get knowledge, and this is mentioned also, acharyopasanam, worshipping the acharya or the guru, is what we say, surrendering to a genuine spiritual master. And the example is there right in the Bhagavad Gita. We're studying text 8 to 12 in chapter 13, beginning page 537. So if you study the Bhagavad Gita, you'll see how it's very dramatic because it's taking place on a battlefield, which is the last place you would probably think would have some discourse on philosophy. But this shows that the Krishna conscious philosophy and the practice is integrated with the most important questions of life. That's why this kind of very dramatic setting is there. And what do we find? We find Arjuna and Krishna, they're the two protagonists. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Arjuna is his eternal friend, actually. As Krishna appears, Arjuna always appears with him in some capacity as a friend, your dear friend. So in this particular instance, now it becomes clear Arjuna doesn't remember that in previous births, but Krishna does. So Arjuna is one of 5 pious brothers called the Pandavas, who were sons of Pandu, and who died untimely when they were still children. So they were then with their mother, Kunti, and they were in a very precarious situation. So they received help from especially Bhishma Dev. He took them in, and they were raised like that. And it turned out Arjuna and each of them. Well, the eldest, who were actually sons of Kunti, were all actually sons of demigods. Karna, who was also the son of Kunti, anyway, there was confusion. He lost his place in the Pandavas, and that's a long story. But he was the son of the sun god, and Arjuna is the son of Indra. Bhima is the son of the wind god, and Yudhishthira is the son of Yamaraj. And then the 2 twins with his sons by another wife of the Ashwini Kumars. So they all had very high births, to say the least. And they were the personification of piety and devotion. And they were the rightful heirs to the throne. But there was their cousins. It's a long story, I won't get into too many details. But Pandu had a younger brother named an older brother named Dhritarashtra, who was the rightful heir to the throne, except he was blind, and because of that, he couldn't actually legally take the throne. So there was some confusion there. He had 100 sons, I think 100 sons, and the eldest was Duryodhana. And when Pandu died, they felt, well, okay, our father is not the official king, but really he's the eldest now. And he should get the kingdom, or we should get the kingdom. So there's this confusion. Is set up a battle, and that's the Mahabharata, which is a long history, which culminates in the Battle of Kurukshetra and the speaking of Bhagavad Gita. So anyway, Arjuna is the best fighter on the side. His elder brother Bhima is also a very powerful warrior. As is Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira is the personification of Dharma. He's the son of Dharmaraj. That's another name of Yamaraj. And then there's the 2 younger boys, and they're all great fighters. But Arjuna's the leader. And so the battle is now set on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. There's huge armies on either side. And Krishna's on Arjuna's side, although he promised not to fight. He's not going to, fight. And so when it came down to it, Duryodhana, he had a choice. You can either have my armies or you can have me. So actually both of them got what they wanted. Duryodhana, I'll take the armies. I mean, it's thousands of armies and elephants and soldiers and horses. He thought, well, this is a good deal. This Krishna is on the other side. But Arjuna, he knew that Krishna is God, and that he's invincible, and that he's his best friend. So I'll be happy with you fighting with me, or just with me. You don't even have to fight. So what's Krishna going to do? All right, I'll be your charioteer. So he took a humble position as a servant. He's the driver of the chariot, which is a service position. But he's still God. So Arjuna said, instead of just starting the battle, he said, take me to the no man's land between the 2 armies. There's maybe, 100 yards between them. I want to see who's on the other side, who I'm going to fight. So he goes there, and suddenly he sees, oh my God, there's my beloved Bhishma Dev. my grandfather figure. He helped to raise them when Pandu died. Very intimate service. And then second in command is my teacher, Dronacharya, who taught him everything he knows about martial arts. So right away you think, I can't fight them. They're my beloved, And then not only them, but there's all kinds of other, even the cousins, even the sons of Dhritarashtra, he felt. One of the most incredible lines in the Gita is near the beginning when Arjuna says, I wouldn't want to live if I had to kill all these. They had tried to kill the Pandavas, but still he had this warm feeling toward them. And all other kinds of relatives and friends on the other side, what to speak of his own side. So anyway, the bottom line, he gets cold feet, so to speak. He said, I can't fight. And he had this argument, if I kill all these men on the other side, this battle takes place, what will happen to their wives? And they'll be unprotected, they'll be Varnashankara, unwanted population, I'll be responsible. I'd rather go to the forest and beg. So Krishna, in the role of a charioteer, he's not speaking in the role of God now, and the charioteer is meant to buck up the courage of the fighter. So, this will be very bad. You're known as a great fighter. The other, all your peers on the other side, on both sides, will think, that Arjuna, he just ran away from the battlefield out of fear. He's a coward. Even if he has his high, motive of just not wanting to kill you. So that'll be the worst thing. Those who are honored, there's nothing worse than dishonor for those who have once been honored. This is let's say. So Krishna is, speaking to him like that, but Arjuna is not convinced, and then suddenly he just drops his bow in the chariot, sits down, and says, Govinda, I shall not fight. So, but then, I think it's after that, he surrenders to Krishna. He changes the relationship. He says, Karpan nidosho pahatat svabhava pichami tvam dharma samhura cheta. Yakshe yaksyanishtitam bruhitam me shishyasteham sharimam tvam papannam. So this is a very important verse because it's a model for us also. And he says, Karpa nidosha, due to this miserly weakness, I've lost my actual nature of a fighter. Upahata swabhava. Swabhava is who you really are, but it's been taken away. I'm paralyzed like never before. So please tell me for sure what's the best thing for me. Prichami tvam dharma samudra cheta. I'm bewildered about my dharma. What's the right thing to do? It's for certain, tell me how I can achieve my ultimate good. The word shreya is very important in the Vedic culture. And then you have nikshreya. Nikshreya is its emphasis, the ultimate good. Tell me for certain how I can achieve that. I'm your shishya. I'm not in the role of your friend anymore. Prabhupada points out that talking with friends can go on forever. You never get to a conclusion, because you're on an equal level. But if you approach a spiritual master, a bona fide spiritual master, and there's no more bona fide than Krishna himself, then you take the subordinate role. Whatever you say, I accept. It's very important. So now, no longer a friend, a shishya. Now I'm your shishya. Shishya is a word that means disciple. Shishya to him, sharimam tvam papannam. Please instruct me, and papannam, I surrender unto you. That last word is very important. So everything changes at that point, and then Krishna, he chastises his disciples. He says, you're lamenting for what's not worthy of grief. And the first lesson in the Bhagavad Gita, which is important for all of us, everyone, is that you're not the body. The body is just a covering on the soul, the spirit soul, the eternal particle of consciousness, which is part of God. And we've been through many births before, and we'll have a future birth. Maybe not many, maybe just one. We'll go back to God. But the point is, this life in this body is a very relatively short chapter in a long book. And we don't remember the previous life, we don't know what the future life is, but we will have one. The key verse in the second chapter encompasses like the major lesson of the chapter, or that part of the chapter. The Jayate Mriyate Vakadachan Nayam Bhutva Vitava Nabuya Ajal Nityik Shashvatoyam Purano Nahanyate Hanyamane Sharire. For the soul, the living entity, there's no birth and there's no death at any time. There's no new souls coming into being. All the souls exist already, and no souls are going out of being. They're not being this. We're all as Aja Nitya Shashvata Purana. We are unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. We are not slain when the body is slain. Now the body may not be slain in a battle, but it'll be slain by old age, by disease, something, some accident, whatever. The machine, it's just a machine. It will eventually stop working. That's a reality. So, now that brings us to a very important point in this part of the verse that we read. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha dosha nadarshana. That was the second line. Janma is birth. I like to put them in order sometimes. Birth, old age, disease, and death. Right? That's basically what they come. But in the Sanskrit, it's birth, death, old age, disease, whatever. These are inevitable for any organism, not just human beings. Some dog lives here, they have a shorter lifetime. He's jumping around nice, but after like 12 years, 13, he's not so light. And eventually the dog dies and, disaster, I remember when I went to this little off topic. When I used to drive, I used to live in the Northeast, we go to New Vrindavan every now and then, and they're way in the hills of West Virginia. And before you get there, you get to a pet cemetery. There's this whole cemetery there. We didn't get out of the car to go in there, but they told me, you see those little markers? Those are for little pets that people have. The attachment is there, Anyway, we're all going to die. But we're going to die, but we're not going to die. They know already. I'm not going to say, you've heard it before. Every body dies. Everybody dies. Nobody dies. Wake up, and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. That's the Hare Krishna movement in a nutshell. So, but here Krishna is saying an essential part of knowledge is to keep in mind, be very sober, about the dukkha dosha anudarshanam, to see, to remember the fault of the misery of the birth, death, old age, and disease. Because whatever happiness you're going to try to attain, or sense gratification, pleasures, it's all temporary, right? And eventually the whole vehicle for enjoyment is going to become a vehicle for pain. I mean, I used to work in a hospital. It's very sobering. I think it was Krishna's arrangement, And I didn't just work in, some corner of it, but all of those things are there: the birth, old age, disease, and death, right? And it's very sobering to see, In many ways, the material life is an attempt to put those things behind, so you can forget what material life is really like, isn't it? Especially when you're young, I like to tell this story. Some of you haven't heard it yet. I've been in this movement a long time, over 50 years. So I spent 6 years in Miami. And not just Miami Beach. The devotees had somehow bought one of the hotels right on the beach in Miami Beach. And that was the temple, And she's wondering, how'd you do that? Anyway, that's what we had. So I went down there in order to work on the Srimad Bhagavatam. My service has always been editing, either the magazine or the books. Do all of you know, we have a bi-monthly magazine called Back to Godhead? Yeah, probably never heard of it. It used to be, Prabhupada said, this is the backbone of the movement when we first started, because that's all it was publishing. We hadn't had money to print any books. So they would print a 32-page magazine every month. And after 15, 20 years, we were able to put it into color, full color, Anyway, I worked on that magazine, then I was able to work on the book. So for 6 years in Miami, I worked on completing the Bhagavatam, because Srila Prabhupada, he wanted to present that, but he didn't have time. His time ran out. So there were about 2/3 of it he did. So I was working down there. So I'm literally on the beach. I can see the water out of my window, right? And they had when I got there, they said, yes, they just spent $2 million building a big boardwalk so that everyone can walk on the sea, here they have. All right. So anyway, I spent a fair amount of time chanting japa on the beach, and we would see, because it's a retirement place. So the old folks, would get up on that boardwalk and they'd walk along and they could see the ocean, But it's also a place where the Brazilians would come up, because during the summer, it's winter down there, they would come up, and these are all you know, 20, 25, he would be 20, 25-year-olds, the sons of the upper crust in Brazil. They had the money to fly up, you know. And so they set up a volleyball court right on the beach, in like 20 feet from the boardwalk. And they would be playing in volleyball, you know. And I could see what was happening. The old folks would be walking on the boardwalk, you know. And they'd see the young guys playing and, you know, say, oh, yeah, I used to be able to do that. But the young ones, they would think, oh, those poor old people. We're young, constitutionally. We'll always be, you know, you have that feeling, oh, I'm not going to grow old like that, you know. You know, it doesn't cross your mind that that's your future, you know. So, but the old folks, they have a more realistic view of things, you know. But it was like, you can learn a lot from nature, you know, something like that. There's a part of the Bhagavatam in the 11th canto called the Uddhava Gita. This is Krishna speaking another Gita to Uddhava. And he has a whole series of, he tells a story about this fellow in the forest who meets someone, and then he explains how much he learned just by observing nature. How he learned, you know, faithfulness from the dogs, and tolerance from the earth and from the trees. And we do, in the morning we have some of that. Those who are hearing the morning class, you're hearing, you know, the Python man. He's just, Python means that he's just lying on the path. He's not making any effort to get food. He's completely surrendered, whatever Krishna supplies, you know. And and he's explaining everything he learned. He learned so much from the bees. The bees get the honey, but they can't be attached because the honey, you know, the beekeeper is going to take the honey. And so, and from the python, he mentions the python, to just be patient and wait, you know, whatever Krishna supplies. Anyway, it's a whole thing. But you can learn a lot, like these trees. When I came here, there was these, you don't realize that you live in San Diego, but these are very unusual trees. They're kind of modeled after coconut trees, but they're not coconut trees because the coconuts would fall down and hit people in the head. So I don't know if they bred them specially, you know, but here are these poor trees, they're just standing there, you know, I don't know, 70 years. And the winds come and they blow down, you know, the leaves up there. They have a whole crew that comes by. They're living entities just like we are. But whatever they did last birth got them this birth as trees. They can't move. They're very rudimentary consciousness. So, but then there's so many, you know, bugs and animals and things like that, and plants, they're also alive. So you see the world differently. Every organism is a living being. And the clincher is, we've all been there. You know, we may come up. You never condemn eternity. There's always another chance. You come up and up to the human form of life. But the human life is a special gift where we can understand these higher things and purposely cultivate a higher consciousness, Krishna consciousness, so that we can end this birth, death, old age, and disease. And go back to Godhead where there's no time. It's the eternal present. Can you imagine? I'll give you two verses from Brahma Samhita. Brahma Samhita means the song of Brahma, which he sang after meditating for a long, long time, and then he had a realization of Krishna in his heart, and so he sang this song, which Prabhupada loved. Lord Chaitanya found this chapter of the whole Brahma Samhita, this chapter 5, and he brought it back with him from South India, and then he had them copy it, so it became integrated into Gaudiya Vaishnava canon. So there's all these songs. Brahma's meditating. Chintamani pakata sadmaso kalpa vriksha lakshabate susurabhira bipalayantam Lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So the last line of every verse has that refrain. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So the first verse is Chintamani. In that spiritual world where Krishna lives originally, the land is always made of Chintamani gems, you know, special beautiful gems, Prakata Sadmasu, and the abodes are also composed of those gems. And there Krishna's herding his cows, and all the goddesses of fortune known as gopis are worshipping him, and he's playing his flute, and Venam Kwanantam, like that. So after all those verses, and he goes through, and it's like a little summary of the philosophy of the Bhagavatam. It's very nice. And then there's two verses that describe the spiritual world. So I'll share those with you, just to get a flavor. Maybe you want to go there. Who knows? So, Shriya Kanta Kanta Kapadama Purusha Kalpatadavo Dhuma Bhumis Chindamanagana Mahi Toyi Mamatam Kata Ganam Natim Gamanam Abhivangshi Priyasaki Chidanandam Jyoti Padamapitadasvajamapicha Sayatra Chirabdi Svabdi Sababib Justice Sumahan Nimesadakyova Vajadinihiyatra Pisamayak Bhaje Shweta Dvipam Tamahamiha Golokamitiham Vidantaste Sandak Chidibadachara Katipaye. I memorized them a long time ago. I don't know if I have the brain power to memorize a verse like that. But anyway, it stuck with me. So what does it mean? Shriya Kanta. Kanta Padamapurusha. So Kanta means the beloved, of the beloved. Right? So Krishna is the ultimate lover there. Kanta Paramapurusha, the Supreme Person. And he's surrounded by many, many Shriya. Shriya is goddesses of fortune. They're all his beloveds. Kanta Paramapurusha. Kalpatadabo Dhuma. All the trees are desire trees. What's a desire tree? I went to Trader Joe's the other day. I was looking for some organic limes. They didn't have any organic limes. They had only inorganic limes, whatever. So I was frustrated. I came back, I put my basket away and came out. I didn't buy anything. But in the spiritual world, if you want organic limes from that Kalpavriksha tree, you can get them. And the next person, you can get organic mangoes. And then the next can get dates. You can get whatever fruit you want. That's kalpa means desire trees. In the spiritual world, it's like that. So all the trees are like that. And all the land is made of chintamani gems. It's not, this dead earth. Everything is alive and conscious. Kalpatadabo druma bhumi chintamani ganamahi toyam amritam. All the water is nectar. All the walking is dancing. All the talking is singing. And you can hear Krishna's wonderful flute always in the background. He's relishing different things. And then the last line, Chidanandam Jyotir, everything is glowing with this effulgence of bliss, the bliss, Ananda Jyoti, but you can taste it. And every day is new. And then the next verse says that the cows, the Surabhi cows, they give unlimited amounts of milk. So much milk that is more than they need. Sometimes they pour it on the ground, And all these Surabhi cows. And then the really interesting thing, the most fascinating part is that there's no past and there's no future. There's only the immediate present. In other words, you're not getting old there, And every day is fresh. There's always new pastimes you can enjoy with Krishna. So it's a wonderful, and the Bhagavatam is filled with so many more details about that. So we're meant to become interested, in that, and really develop our faith that it exists. And that's why the Acharya Upasanam is so important. That was in the first verse. Is that, how can we believe all these things? Well, here's this whole line of realized souls who have believed it, practiced it, achieved perfection, and lived it. And their lives are testaments to their being in a different state of consciousness as ordinary people. For instance, the 6 Goswamis, they were the first disciples of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya was an incarnation of Krishna himself, who appeared only about 550 years ago now in Bengal, just about 1486, just when Columbus was getting ready to sail. So he lived on 48, he stayed on the planet 48 years, but he's the one who started this whole process of mass chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. This was a special thing. He didn't, invent this mantra. This is in the Shastra, in the Vedas. This is Upanishad. The first, there's two verses in the Upanishad that are very key for our understanding. And you know what the first verse is? It's right there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's the same size verse as these Bhagavad Gita verses. But then the next verse tells the information. Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kalmashanashanam Natak Padataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. These 16 names are the best and most efficient way of negating the ills and evils of this age of Kali. There's so many things we can go with. There's an extensive description of it. We can just open the door, read the newspaper. We can know what it's like. So, but if you chant this name, it's not, it's not going to suddenly change everyone in the world, but it'll change you, and you'll be able to live in this world without being affected by all of the negativities that are going on. Iti Shodash, Kali Kalmasha Kali Kalmasha means the pains and the evils of this age. Nashanam destroys it for you if you absorb yourself in your chant. And if you search throughout all the Vedas, you won't find a more efficient means of doing that. And that's the verse that Lord Chaitanya used to propagate. And it's such a one that's so nice and rhythmic, you can play a drum to it and dance to it and sing it. So that's the means by which we can awaken our dormant Krishna consciousness. All right, let's go through the whole thing. Indriyateshu vairagyam. The word vairagya is important. Vairagya means, let's see, where is it? Let's see if we can find it. We started at the bottom of page 540, right? In the middle of that paragraph. Okay, self-control. One should become accustomed to this real enunciation. One should become accustomed to not accepting things which are detrimental to the path of spiritual progress. Very important instruction. You see that line there? It's like the third sentence in the paragraph, last paragraph in 540. One should become accustomed to this. Reject anything which is against it. Well, we need to learn what that is. This is why we need having good instruction and read the books. What is detrimental? Okay, we have our 4 regulative principles. Now, if anyone feels uncomfortable when we say, you can leave, take it, and then come back for the kirtan. Don't miss the kirtan or whatever. But we have these 4 regulative principles, which if I'm serious, then you say, okay, I'm going to try to follow those. And they're a challenge. So we'll take the easiest one first, gambling. You have to give up gambling, right? But actually, at the end I'm going to tell you, this is the hardest one. She knows. But just ordinary gambling. We had a fellow, your father-in-law, right? Anyway, we won't get into that. Did you know that? Anyway, he had a problem, or he has a problem still. The poor guy, It's like an addiction. We know that, that it can be like that. All right. I'll tell you my little bouts with the gambling. I was 18, 19 years old. I lived on Long Island, and a lot of people don't know that there's a racetrack on there, not for horses, not that they ride the horses, but they ride these little carriages, Anyway, I started going there. I was making all of $1.35 an hour. I had a job, that was low even at that time. If you're here for a year, you can get up to $1.50. All right, that's my working. Anyway, so I'm doing that, and I said, okay, let me go play the horses a while. I went there, I don't know if I ever won anything. One time I lost my whole paycheck. I said, okay, that's it, never again. Luckily, I was able to quit that. But some people, anyway, it is an addiction. So gambling, meat eating. Everyone knows we're vegetarians. I mean, that is there's like 4 or 5, 6 ways that's bad. It's bad for the environment, it's bad for your health, it's expensive, it's ruining the planet, the poor animals. There's like 10 different ways that without any Krishna consciousness you would give up meat eating. I became a vegetarian long before I learned about Krishna. But it's also keeps you in a state of consciousness that's very difficult to be attracted to Krishna. It increases the mode of passion and anger. It's bad karma. So meat eating is out, gambling is out, intoxication, that's another one. I was a child of the 60s. Somehow or other I navigated that without too much damage to my brain, Luckily I never took LSD. I did smoke a lot of weed for a while, but that was it. And but then gave that up. And then illicit sex. This is a big source of degradation in this world, in any society. And so the whole idea in Krishna consciousness, you're trying to direct that energy, that enjoying energy, toward pleasing Krishna. You're trying to sublimate these natural desires. And so it's not that there's no allowance for sex. Obviously, in marriage, under control, Krishna says, I am that. Dharma varuddha buddhishim kamosmi badatarshaba. Kama, everyone knows that word, it's probably an English word, as in Kama Sutra. So, I am that sex life, probably call it sex life, I am that sex which is not against religious principles, which basically means within marriage, for having children who you raise to be devotees, you know. So there's actually a place for it. But it has to be controlled, because that will keep us coming back again, life after life, you know. So that's what it means. One should become accustomed to this and reject anything. Self-control means one should not accept anything which is detrimental to a path of spiritual progress. One should become accustomed to this and reject anything which is against the path of spiritual progress. That is real renunciation. Now that's what's called vairagya. Now, raga, it means attachment. And actually, if you become advanced in devotional service, you're on the path of raganuga. Raganuga, which means following those who are very attached to Krishna and serving Krishna and giving him enjoyment. So raga is not to be destroyed, but it's meant to be purified so that it's directed toward Krishna. You take your pleasure in fulfilling Krishna's desires. Now we have a great model of this in the mother's love for the child. This is the purest form of love we find here. Child doesn't know anything except that it's this big ball of love and nourishment and protection called the mother. I don't even know what she's called, but when she's gone, I'm scared and I start crying, and then when she comes back, you know. Now the mother, she doesn't expect anything back, you know, it's not some deal. You know, if she sees the child is happy and peaceful and smiles a little with that toothless smile, you know, her day is made, right? I mean, I've never been married, but I've seen that in action, you know. So that's the closest thing in the material world to the selfless love we're trying to achieve toward Krishna. To take the pleasure in the pleasure of the beloved. That's really what the spiritual world is all about. And Krishna is Anandamaya Abhyasad. He is made of bliss. If you were God, would you say, yeah, I think I'll take a little misery right now. No, you'd be blissful all the time. And in variety, you know, it's not just one variety of relationships and activities, and that's what Krishna is. Leela, infinite varieties of the different rasa. We're not familiar with that word, but we're definitely familiar with the fact. We have friends, you know. So many people have a rasa with their pets. When I take my walk, you know, there's so many dogs. They're walking the dog. There's one dog. I've come to know some of the dogs. And the dog, he never keeps it on a leash because the dog has some little problem with his back. He's a little small dog, and when he walks, he's like this, you know. So he can't run or anything, so he never. And there's a guy, you know, and he looks pretty stern, but he loves that dog, you know. And I always think give a wide berth. But that's a rasa, you know. You love the dog. Hey, you can become a dog. You'll think of your dog when you leave your body and you get that birth. That's the problem. But if you think of Krishna, you'll go to Krishna, you go to the spiritual world. So vairagya means to become detached from the things of this world and to become attached to Krishna. That's real yukta vairagya. That's what we're aiming for. Okay. One should not cater to demands, essentially be gratified to keep the body fit so it can discharge devotional service. I don't know if you read that one. It was about controlling the tongue. Tongue is so important to control. Speaking and tasting. Therefore, by systematic regulation, the tongue should always be engaged in tasting the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna. Now, as you probably noticed, over the course of my career, I've memorized a bunch of these verses, of Sanskrit verses, from the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, various sources. And they never failed to provide a enlivenment when I chant them, because that's why I did some English poetry, which I think I'll give you a little now, because the real thing is to think of the meaning as you chant. Like there's one verse, the word madhuram means sweet. Now, sweet has many different connotations. Something is very beautiful and attractive and friendly, that's sweet. You know, it's not just a taste sweet. So there's this verse, and you can probably memorize it right now. There's just 4 different words in it. Most of it is Maduram. Maduram, Maduram, Vaporasya Vibhor, Maduram, Madurang, Vadanam, Maduram. Madhugandim Nadusmitamete Daho. Maduram, 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 Maduram. Now this was written by a devotee, interesting enough, who was physically blind, but spiritually completely awake. His name was Bilva Mangal Thakur. And so he was always seeing Krishna in his heart, you know. And even he would say, oh, Krishna's come before me. He was in his mind's eye, he's seeing all this and writing these down in wonderful verses. So the meaning of this verse is that, so you can think of Giridhari, you know, if you've been to the temple. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form. Sweet is still his face so fair. But his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. 4 Madhurams, Madhuram, 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 Madhuram. So this is a simple little verse, but it has a certain power. The Sanskrit language, the words evoke the reality of what they're describing. There's something that is a very powerful language. So I highly recommend that. I have a bunch of recordings, and I also have a file of poetry. Let's see. Okay, we have time for a little longer poem. So some of them are, you know, just very instructive philosophically. But this one is a prayer. This is a prayer to have Krishna's beautiful lotus face manifest, growing in the lake of your heart. This is by Rupa Goswami, Lord Chaitanya's prime disciple. So he says, Smita ruchi makadanda syandi bhaktrara vindam tavapada padahangsan vishtagandham mukunda vidichita pashupali netra saranga rangam mamadidiyata dage sangamangi karotu. From the lotus of your face, dear Lord, trickles forth the luscious nectar of the beauty of your smile. Your exalted devotees, great swans, seek the fragrance of that lotus which does ere their hearts beguile. Your beloved gopis' eyes, mad bees, taste the most exquisite pleasure in that lotus of your face. O my dear Mukunda Dev, I pray, may the lake of my poor heart be by that lotus ever graced. Hare Krishna. It's not as good as the Sanskrit, but it's better than nothing. So anyway, if you just write me at Dravida108 at Gmail, I'll send you all my poetry. I haven't written too many, but I wrote a few. This is a little PDF file. Some Prabhupada. Oh, Prabhupada, we hail the day when you appear just like a ray of Krishna's vast effulgence bright to give this blind world back its sight. We thank you from the bottom of our heart and pray with deepest love that we may serve your lotus feet in every circumstance we meet. As years go by and books go out, we see what life is all about, to serve your mission and our Lord's by spreading wide your sacred words. As well, you want us all to strive to let those words direct our lives. This safest path will lead us home, no more in Maya's realm to roam. So you can find that verse in my collection of poems. Any questions, comments, objections? Yes, please. However, can you get the mic? Because we have an audience. Do the honors, okay, Sureshwar?
I'm scared of the mic.
No, don't worry about the mic.
Thank you.
And don't, just remember, you'll be immortalized because these are all recorded, so that shouldn't add to your embarrassment.
All right.
Go ahead.
So while being celibate, how do you transform an attraction for someone into your own spiritual and personal empowerment, just energy?
Well, the idea is that, you know, the Krishna content is really, if you're serious about it, it's a whole lifestyle. It's a whole lifestyle. And it's all predicated on, as mentioned in the purport here, what is favorable for your actual spiritual advancement. And you have to be sober-minded, so what does that really mean? And as I mentioned, you know, when you grow up, you're influenced by various things, you know, in Western culture. You're living an ordinary life. And naturally, let's face it, it's somewhat of a hedonistic society, you would say, you know? It's like glorifies sensual pleasure, let's put it that way. So that when you learn the science of reincarnation, you realize this is a dangerous mentality to cultivate. Because the first thing is, you know, one thing is that, hey, you don't know how long you're going to live. You know, you're driving along on the I-5 and some guy's on his cell phone, you know, and you both you leave your body and probably neither of you go back to Godhead, you know. It's a hazard. It's a dangerous world. Just read the newspaper if you're brave enough. And so anyway, the point is we can leave the body at any time. So with that understanding, we say, oh, I want to be in the best consciousness I can be. So I want to chant. If you start chanting, then you see the benefits of chanting. And you read the books and you understand, oh, okay, I can see what this is. I'm becoming attracted to things related to Krishna. You have that to some degree, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So I knew that I want to maximize that as much as possible. But I have all these other desires that are in the way, you see. So therefore, we have to say, what do I want to do? You know, I should, if I'm serious, you know, and sober-minded. So okay, let me, as I love this word, sublimate these other desires into Krishna consciousness. Now, it doesn't mean that there's no room, as I mentioned. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, for sex, but within the context of a Krishna conscious marriage. Probably from day one, he saw that he's going to have to preach like that. In India, you can have 40 brahmacharis living in the mat, and ladies, you know, they're not going to be given any place to live. But here, Prabhupada saw, and you know, he started ashrams and brahmacharini ashrams, and then there was attraction and there was marriages. He performed them. Which is, but God brothers, you don't do that in India. The sannyasis don't perform marriages. But there was no one else to perform them, so he did it, you know, and it came out fine. And then there was offspring, so they started schools. We have the Gurukul school and so forth. So all in the context of facilitating your Krishna consciousness and those of your wife and children, you know, like that. That's perfectly fine. But it has to be controlled, because if it gets out of control, then that'll take your mind completely away from Krishna consciousness. And that's why when you take initiation, there's certain vows, those 4 regulative principles. You know, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to take intoxication like that. And so that's, and the thing about it is, if you do Krishna consciousness right, you stay enlivened. Like the morning program we have is full of chanting. You know, you're offering prayers to the spiritual master, which renews your understanding and relationship and remembrance of the qualities of the spiritual master. And then all it's a period of chanting, you know, and we worship Tulsi. And when you understand what all these things are, it's all, you know, helps you to be Krishna conscious. Uh-oh. Now we're over. We're over time. Those curtains are going to open. But we can continue next time. That's what I'm here for. All right. So how far did we get with that one verse? False ego. 541. Birth, old age, disease, and death. I'm sorry?
It starts with 10.
Yeah, the verse, but where in the purport? I think the last paragraph on page 541 is where we're going to start. Okay, next, right? Yeah, we did that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Oh boy, now it was late coming, and now I'm late stopping.
Yeah, I have an excuse when you're about 40 years old.
Do you know how old I am?
I'm guessing.
I'm 21. 21.
21. 55 years old.
I was 34. Because she
You're
made a
actually-
joke and I thought she was serious. She's like, no, I'm actually 34. And I'm like, no, I believe you. Why would I say that?
Oh, gosh. Well, we're all eternal, so
ageless.
Let's leave it at that.
Mahima. Have you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita? When Lord Chaitanya, when the Jagannath deed,
Can I borrow your bathroom?
oh please, you don't have to borrow it, just use it. Right here. Krishna. So the Jagannath deed is to be taken out of the temple to get on the cart. And what's Lord Chaitanya saying? Mahima, Mahima, Mahima. You didn't know that, right?
No, I did not. I'm still going through my Bhagavad and Canto 2.
Okay.
Still on that.
I won't. Shri Radha ki Hari ki Jai. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ji ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtacharisha Tarine
Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtacharisha
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Vande Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Vande Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Vande Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Vande Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Vande Ram, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Vande Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhagavad-Gita Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhagavad-Gita Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Chakaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kun Varakun Giri Gopadan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Ganga Mehi Ki Jai. Yamuna Mehi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Allada Daine Hiranyakashipo Vakshaha Shilatam Tanakalaye Ito Nishinga Parito Nishingo Yato Yato Yamitato Nishinga Bahir Nishingo Rindaye Nishingo Tasinghamading Sharanam Prapaje Tavakara Kamalam Vare Nakam Amita Shinga Tarita Hiranyakasipu Tanum Bringa Keshavantrita Narahari Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Kamalam Vare Anta Shinga Saritaya Shindu Sambrina Keshavadvita Haravidupa Jayadrisha Hare Jaya Nrsimhade, 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 Jaya Nrsimhade. Jaya Nrsimhade, 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 Jaya Nrsimhade. Jaya Narahari, 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 Jaya Narahari. Srimad Bhagavan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Oh, you learning the song?
Slowly.
Slow.
You want
Yeah.
bear?
Bear.
He has bears.
How many you want to be?
Is this going to?
Yeah.
How many bears?
Okay. Maybe Monday's class too? Or Tuesday on Monday?
It depends if I'll have time or not.
Tuesday, Taco Tuesday.
Tuesday.
No.
Again, if I have time, I will.
Okay.
Yes. Wednesday.
Kanai balai.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yes.
Wednesday.
Bungal.
Dravida.
No.
Yes, I got it.
You got it.
Dravida.
Only one.
That's very rare fruit for
Yeah.
Indians.
But
It's very rare to find.
share.
What's happening here? You bringing the cakes in here? Sure. You're bringing out food here.
Cake. Cake.